Hi kittens, it is Sugar, and I'm doing another video for House of Cyanide in the second school series. So I wanted to talk about dealing with the unseen, knowing about that, knowing about what those are, what that is, because if you are aware of it, then you can protect yourself. Okay, so I'm going to use the unseen as a kind of catch-all umbrella phrase that basically means everything that you can't see and that's in this tangible material world. Okay, so and there are all manner of things. There's as much of variety or more as there is in the plant and animal kingdom. Okay, so to compare the plant and animal kingdom, like you've got everything from birds and reptiles to doggies and kitties to human beings to aloe plants and herbs and huge biodiversity. And that is the same thing with the unseen. Okay, there's a huge diversity of life that exists, and there are lots of people who have different theories and different ways on how these things work, and angels and demons and the different levels and aliens and all of that. And I've never really sat down and tried to work it all out. So there's a couple of people's theories that sound pretty sound to me, but I think that they're only getting the tip of the iceberg and that there's so much more out there. So I'm not even going to try to explain the hierarchy and how all of that works, because honestly, I have no idea. I just know what I've personally dealt with and my kind of understanding. Okay. One of the things to remember is that not everything in the unseen is good. Some of the things in the unseen are terrible, horrible, nightmarish, and the things that are good in the unseen, while they may be living on a higher plane of existence, be a higher energy form, and may be looking out for our best interest, that does not mean that they are infallible. It does not mean that they do not make mistakes. It does not mean that they do not have agendas of their own. So just like good people can do bad things, so can good spirits do bad things. And not everything that they want for us is necessarily specifically in our best interest. They have their own agenda, and they also think on a level that is completely alien to us. So what might be important to them and what they think is best for us might not be important to us at all, and might not be in our best interest at all. So I kind of like to look at them. I think, in my opinion, the Greeks and the Romans got them most accurate. If you study the Greek and Roman mythos and mythologies, the way that they portray their gods as fallible, they make mistakes. Zeus was a total lech. He went after any cute thing in a skirt and wanted to impregnate it. So I think the Greeks and Romans did a really great job of kind of showing the spirits and the unseen in a very human way, because they are more human than a lot of people attribute to them, and that they're not these perfect beings that know everything. They know way more than we do, but they don't know everything. And I think too many people put entirely too much trust and faith into these beings, and then end up being let down or hurt because of it. Because they think that they are perfect, and they're not. They're not perfect. Okay? So, one of the theories that I have, and I've discussed this with several other pagan friends, is the evolution of the soul. And I'm going to use the term gods and goddesses because that's the easiest way for me to explain this. Okay? For people that are human, every time they reincarnate, their soul learns and grows. With every lifetime, their soul becomes wiser. To simplify this theory, I look at the gods and goddesses as human souls that are farther down the evolutionary process than we are. And so their souls are wiser than ours because they've lived more lifetimes. They have more experience. And so the best way to explain this is like an older sibling. Okay? So those of you who have had older siblings or maybe even cousins that were older than you, while they might not know all the answers to everything, they've been where you were at some point in their life, and they can give you very wise counsel on what to do in your situation. However, they are not all powerful, and although they've been in a situation very similar and understand where you're coming from and all of that, they may not have all the facts. And so they can give you advice to the best of their ability, but maybe the best of their ability is not good enough. Okay? So it's kind of like the difference between a 16-year-old and an 8-year-old. A 16-year-old is knowledgeable enough in life to give very wise advice to an 8-year-old, but a 16-year-old is not a 30-year-old. Okay? So that's kind of the evolution of the soul. And I look at the gods and goddesses as more evolved souls. And this gets bigger and bigger and bigger because that means that when our souls evolve, we'll become them. And we will be the gods and goddesses to the new souls. And that goes into another theory of how I believe everything is all interconnected, and that we are all God, we are all becoming God, we have all been God, and we will all be God in the future. So we have been, was, were, and will be. I'll probably do a separate video on my beliefs about what God is and life and the meaning of everything and 42. So, and like I said, there's all kinds of biodiversity when it comes to the unseen. Some of them are evolved human souls. Some of them are thought forms. Some of them are spirits of the departed. Maybe they clung to this world and have not evolved for whatever reason. And so there's there's a lot going on there. There's a whole lot going on there, and it's a very diverse spectrum. So how do you know what you're dealing with? Well, the first thing that people need to realize is if you're dealing with a genuinely honest entity, they're not going to be flashy. Okay, they're not going to try to impress you. If you're dealing with something that is trying to impress you, that means they want something from you. And this is actually true when it comes to dealing with human beings in general. If you're dealing with a person who is kind of rolling out the red carpet for you, then they're trying to impress you. And that means that they want something from you. Okay, so be aware of that. So if you're dealing with an entity on a higher level or in the unseen, they're not going to try to impress you. They're not going to show you, they're not going to give you a guided tour of the unseen. They're not going to take you out to the moon and show you that. They're not going to do any of that stuff because they're not going to try to impress you. So that's the first thing to realize. Secondly, they're not going to try to feed off of you. So after you're dealing with an entity from the unseen, if you feel weaker or tired, that means that they fed off of you. And something that has a genuine interest in your health and your well-being is not going to feed off you. It's not going to treat you like food. Okay? So that's another thing. They're going to be a little bit mysterious. Now, this is more from my personal experience than anything else. But usually if you're going to be dealing with a spirit guide or something like that from the unseen that wants to help you and wants to be an active part in your life, they're going to be a bit mysterious because they're going to make you earn it. They're going to make you do the work to understand them, and they're going to make you find the answers for yourself. So they're going to lead you down the path, but they're not going to give you everything. They're going to make you find it for yourself. And so if you're dealing with a spirit guide or entity or whatever name you want to call it, because again, it could be a variety of different things, different biodiverse things from the unseen. If it's giving you all the answers, it's kind of like cheating on a test. Okay? And they're supposed to be your teachers. They're supposed to help you learn. And if they're giving you all the answers and showing you all of that, then you're not learning. You're taking the easy way out, and these entities, if they're genuinely want your... Okay, sorry, my card was full. I had to put in another SD card into the camera. But as I was saying, is if they're generally in your best interest, they're going to make you work for your growth, and they're there as a teacher to help you learn. And by giving you all the answers, that's not you learning. That's you cheating on the test. And so be aware of that. If they're helping you cheat, they're probably have an agenda, and they probably want something for you because you're taking the easy way out. Okay? Just like ghosts, spirits, anything in the unseen are just like human beings. They can be good people can do bad things, bad people can do good things. You really have to exercise your judgment, your discernment in dealing with this. Make them work for it, and they should make you work for it. This isn't a relationship, just like any other relationship in your life. If it's a one-sided relationship, then it's not a healthy relationship. So both of you should be getting something out of it. Both of you should be putting work into the relationship. And if that's not the case, then it's not a healthy relationship. So how do you protect yourself if you have an entity or something from the unseen that is bothering you or what have you? How do you know? How do you know if it's affecting you? One, if it feeds off you, you're going to feel drained all the time. Two, if you start noticing behavioral changes, say you start eating food that you never liked before, like you absolutely hate broccoli and all of a sudden you can't get enough of it. Or if you start doing reckless behavior, if you start drinking a lot, anything along those lines, that could be something interfering with you. Specifically, drinking and doing drugs. Drinking and doing drugs is very, very dangerous when dealing with the world of the unseen, because what those do is those loosen your control, your individual control, and that can make it easier for you to be possessed in the good way or the bad way. So, and I'm going to do a second video on possession and the good things about it, the bad things about it, and all of that. So I hope you like this video about the unseen and the diversity of the unseen. Remember, if you have an entity and it comes up to you and it says, I'm Ra, I'm the all-powerful Ra, and look, you can see the Earth from outer space now, and takes you on this guided tour of this, something from sci-fi or fantasy or something like that. That's not Ra. Ra is not going to do that. That is not Ra at all. He's not going to do that. Ra is going to make you earn his names. Names are powerful. An entity is not going to give you its name right off the bat because names are powerful. That's another way to tell if you're dealing with a false entity or not, is if it tells you its name right off the bat. Or if it tells you some insane made up like Ali Kababa or Kilish Kulam or something insane like that, if you have an entity and it tells you its name is Bob, that's probably a real entity, not a false entity. But, if that's, again, them trying to impress you, and that means that they want something from you. So, Ra's not going to come up to you and tell you his name's Ra. He's just not going to do that. Also, if you do find a name, or if you are giving a name like Ra or Bas or Sekhma or any of the Egyptian gods or any of the Celtic gods or the Greek gods or any of those, if you're given a name like a famous celebrity entity name, research that name. And if their behavior doesn't reflect the historical anthropological research, like if you have an entity and it's Zeus and he's not a total lech, you're not dealing with Zeus, because Zeus is a total lech. He's gonna not even gonna go there. But Zeus is a total lech. So if you're dealing with an entity and it says it's Zeus, and he's not eyeing you sideways or isn't trying to get you naked or things of that nature, then you're not dealing with Zeus. So do the research on who you're dealing with. That information is out there for a reason, and it also goes into thought forms. So if, say, like, Sekhma is a warrior goddess. She bathed and drank the blood of humans because they pissed off her daddy Ra. Okay? If you meet Sekhma and she is not one scary, powerful woman that gives you and doesn't give you that warrior goddess feel and feels completely different, then you're probably not dealing with Sekhma. Sekhma is not going to be a happy-dappy mom figure that's going to hug you and hold you and wipe your diaper and, dry your tears. That's not Sekma. Sekma is going to yell at you, call you a little baby, and tell you to get your shit together. So, understand who you're dealing with. And there are, like I said, more entities in the unseen than there are human beings on this world. And not all of them are going to be famous. You're not going to get Cleopatra. You're not going to get Ra. You're not going to get Osiris. You're not going to get, unless you actually call upon them. That's another thing. They're not going to just randomly start approaching you. They're busy. They've got their own job that they need to be doing. They don't need to be bugging every human being. There's 7 billion human beings on this planet. They don't need to be bugging, they don't got time to be bugging us, hanging out with us all day long. They've got their own shit that they're doing because they're trying to evolve to their next level. They're trying to grow as well so that they can move on to the next level. And they don't need to be hanging out and partying with us. So common sense. It sounds crazy to talk about common sense when you're dealing with invisible entities and gods and goddesses and whatever you want to call it. But seriously, common sense, guys, okay? All right, I'm going to come back with the next video about possession, how to protect yourself from possession, good and bad possession, and all of those things. So if you like this, please comment down below, subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends, share your friends. This is all information from my personal experience, and I am kind of a book nerd and a research nut, totally admit it, but this is all mostly from my personal experience. So if you have something of a different experience, it's more than likely possible. I'm not saying that this is the only way. I'm saying this is simply a way. Alrighty. Thank you very much for watching. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.